Are the wars in Israel and Ukraine more than the United States can take on at the same time?
We're the United States of America, for God's sake. The most powerful nation in the history, not in the world, in the history of the world. The history of the world. We can take care of both of these and still maintain our overall international defense.
Well, here we go again. As the U.S. dispatches yet another aircraft carrier to support Israel, you'd imagine that the Perpetual War Brigade in Washington will be thinking twice before jumping headlong into yet another red-hot foreign conflict. You'd also imagine that their misadventures in Iraq, Syria and Afghanistan may have led to a more cautious approach to foreign policy. Well, you'd be wrong.
They make Al-Qaeda look pure. They're pure evil. As I said from the beginning, the United States, make no mistake about it, stands with Israel.
Here's my message. If Hezbollah, which is a proxy of Iran, launches a massive attack on Israel, I will consider that a threat to the state of Israel, existential in nature. I will introduce a resolution in the United States Senate to allow military action by the United States in conjunction with Israel to knock Iran out of the oil business. Iran, if you escalate this war, we're coming for you.
This should be personal for every woman and man in America. Why? Because when they did this surprise attack, when they took these hostages, when they murdered these families, they were celebrating. And what were they celebrating? They were saying death to Israel, death to America. This is not just an attack on Israel. This is an attack on America because they hate us just as much.
And it seems that the growing list of failed foreign interventions, proxy wars and dubious alliances hasn't cooled the seemingly endless desire for an even bigger war. And as Antony Blinken tries to avert the inevitable regional collapse that would accompany escalation, a recent high-level report for the US Congress has advised lawmakers to prepare for full-scale nuclear confrontation with Russia and China. Essentially what they're saying is get ready for World War III.
The militarily troubling and increasingly aggressive behaviors of Russia and China over the past decade led Congress to direct a review of the strategic posture of the United States, including nuclear weapons policy, strategy, and force structure.
Thankfully, on the Russian and Chinese sides, cooler heads are prevailing as they both call for de-escalation in Palestine, with Russian President Vladimir Putin also pointing out the absolute insanity of even contemplating a full-scale conflict between the world's great powers. It seems that yet again, in the US government's thirst for a forever war, common sense is the first casualty.
If they want to go to war with Russia, it's a different kind of war. It's not a special military operation. Look at what is happening in the Middle East. Is it a special military operation? If we're talking about a war between great nuclear powers, that's a different story. I don't think people in their right mind could think of such an idea. And if it does, it's alarming. Moreover, to go to war with both Russia and China at once is nonsense, of course.
So as Ukraine's failing proxy war suddenly drops off the Western media's radar, it seems Israel has now become the latest place to be seen to stand with. That's, of course, until a bigger fish like, say, Taiwan knocks them off the top spot for moral outrage and ironclad support. Whatever happens in the coming weeks and months, the US political elite should be acutely aware that while taking on Hamas and 2 million impoverished Palestinian civilians is one thing, taking on Russia and China is something completely different. Maybe it's time for Uncle Sam to realize that to defend everywhere is to defend nowhere.